When we think of Shakespeare's sonnets, we usually think of romance. But the whole thing doesn't actually kick off with a love poem. Nope. It starts with an indictment, like a legal case, against a beautiful young man who's, well, committing a crime. A crime against nature, against the world, and against himself. So let's step into the courtroom and hear the prosecution's opening argument.
The case opens with this really beautiful universal idea, right? We all instinctively want beautiful things to last, to reproduce, so that a beautiful rose doesn't just wither away, but makes more roses. It's a gentle, totally natural place to start.
And here's the twist. The subject of these sonnets, this fair youth, is refusing. He's hoarding his beauty. And in Shakespeare's eyes, this isn't just, a personal choice. It's a massive offense, something that affects everyone.
Okay, so let's dig into the first charge in this indictment, which is all laid out in Sonnet I. And Shakespeare comes out swinging right away, framing the youth's self-obsession as a form of self-destruction.
The central charge is a total paradox. By being obsessed with his own beauty, the youth is actually his own worst enemy. He's creating a famine, a lack of future beauty, smack in the middle of his own abundance. He's basically starving the future.
And just listen to the words Shakespeare uses here. They are absolutely brutal. He says the youth is like a fire feeding on itself. He calls him a tender churl, which basically means he's beautiful on the outside, but has an ugly, selfish soul. He's niggarding, like a greedy miser hoarding a treasure that should be shared. And finally, he's a glutton, devouring what rightfully belongs to the whole world. I mean, this is not friendly advice. It's a full-on attack. So, after establishing the crime, Shakespeare starts building his case. And the next argument focuses on the youth's duty to his family and to the future, and he uses this really powerful metaphor of a mirror. The instruction here is so direct. He says, look in the mirror, see that face. It's not just for you to admire. It's a template, and its job right now is to create a copy of itself. So the mirror isn't about vanity, it's about recognizing you have a responsibility.
And who are the victims of this crime? Well, Shakespeare points to two. First, the world, which is getting cheated out of another beautiful person. And second, some future woman who is being denied the blessing of having a child with him. So you see, the stakes are both public and incredibly personal. And then Shakespeare gives us this incredibly touching image. He tells the youth that he isn't just looking in a mirror. He is a mirror. In his face, his own mother can see her youth again, the lovely April of her prime. He's the living proof of that generational connection, a cycle that he is now threatening to break.
Now, if the youth is the defendant in this drama, who's the main villain? It's time. And Shakespeare paints time as this relentless, violent attacker, laying siege to beauty. Wow, this quote just perfectly captures the threat. This isn't just gentle aging. Shakespeare describes it like it's a war. 40 winters will besiege your brow. They will dig deep trenches, wrinkles, in the field of your face. Time isn't a flowing river here. It's an invading army. And he keeps this military idea going, comparing the youth's beauty to a proud livery, like a magnificent fancy uniform. But time will eventually reduce that uniform to a tattered weed, just a worthless rag. The point is, your beauty isn't who you are. It's just something you're wearing for a little while. So what's the only way to defend yourself against this attack? According to Shakespeare, it's having a child. A child is how you become new-made when you yourself are old. He paints this beautiful picture of seeing your own blood warm in your child, even as you feel your own growing cold. It's almost like a form of a resurrection. For his next move, Shakespeare totally switches gears. He moves away from metaphors of war to the cold, hard language of economics. Beauty, he argues, isn't a gift. It's a loan from nature, and the account is coming due. So here's the main idea from Sonnet IV. Nature gives you beauty as a bequest, kind of like an inheritance. But here's the catch. You're just the steward of it. You don't actually own it. Your job is to invest it wisely and pass it on. And if you fail to do that, well, you're basically committing a series of financial crimes. You're a beauteous niggard, a beautiful miser. You're a profitless usurer, someone who just lives off their good looks without creating any real return. And when you die, you're going to fail your final audit with nothing to show for the incredible sum you were given.
Okay, so for his final piece of evidence, Shakespeare moves from the cold world of finance to the really beautiful world of alchemy and perfume making. He introduces what might be his most elegant argument yet, the idea of preserving something through distillation.
The logic here is simple, but it's so powerful. Winter, just like time, will eventually destroy a flower's outward appearance, its show. But a smart perfumer will distill the flower first, capturing its substance, its very essence, as perfume in a little glass bottle. Procreation, he's saying, is that act of distillation. It saves the essential you before the physical you withers away.
So after all of these arguments, the moral one, the social one, the military one, the financial one, the whole case builds to one final stark choice for the fair youth. The prosecution rests. It's time for the verdict. Shakespeare puts the question to him directly. When nature calls you to account for your life, what are you going to have to show for it? What's your legacy going to be?
And the options couldn't be clearer. On one hand, you can die single, and thine image dies with thee, complete oblivion, gone. Or you can have a child, point to them and say, this child settles my account. Here's the profit on the life I was given.
And this is the closing statement, the final mic drop. You can either be a tomb, literally burying your own legacy inside yourself, or you can create a child who will be the executor of your will, carrying that legacy far into the future.
Ultimately, Shakespeare's whole case is aimed at one specific young man and his physical beauty. But here we are, 400 years later, and it leaves us with a much bigger, much more personal question. It kind of forces us to look in our own mirror and ask, what are our gifts? Our talents, our knowledge, our compassion, and what's our obligation to share them, to invest them, so they don't just die with us?